Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you very much for sharing this afternoon again with us. Welcome to the sixth and last session of the Tetuan Valley Startup School program. My name is Sergio. I'm program manager at Tetuan Valley. After talking about all these different topics during the program, like lean startup, effective presentations, product validation, metrics, the last week we had the session talking about legal and sales. Today we'll be talking about investment from the investors and from the startup point of view. I really encourage you to go to our Eventbrite page and download the tickets for the demo day on the 3rd of December. We are arriving to the end of the program, so really go and take the ticket. And please, during all these sessions, we always encourage you to send all the questions through the YouTube chat. I explain you how the session is going to take place. From 5 to 7, we will have two guest speakers. This part of the session will be held in public and broadcasted through YouTube. As I said before, I encourage you to send all the questions through the YouTube chat. We will have some time to reply them all at the last part of the session. And from 7 to 9, we will have the private part, pitch and feedback session with the teams. As you know, teams, just go to the Google site and you can access to the session that you have assigned for today. We will start today by introducing the great speakers. Paloma Cañete, Investment Manager at Fides Capital, and Alfonso Saiz de Baranda, Chief Growth Officer at BNext. Feel free to ask all the questions to Paloma and Alfonso during all the session. And we will start today with Paloma. I'll give you access to the broadcast. Paloma, let's see. Yeah. Hello, Paloma.
Hello.
How are you?
Very well, thank you. Okay,
it's a bit different than in campus, right? But it's what we can do now.
Yeah, but we have to get used to these online sessions and live, so we better do it before than after.
Yeah. Let's see how much time does it take, but I think that probably we will have another edition online. so let's see. But yeah, we're learning also. So it's really a pleasure to be with you here today. The sessions that we had with you at campus were so great, and I think it's very interesting to know the point of view of the investor, not only the point of view of the startup. It's normally the point of view that we share all together when we have the breakfast and the sessions. It's also great to have a guest like you today.
Well, thank you for inviting me to be part of the startup school. It's not the same. The session in English is not the same as in Spanish, but well, I'll try to do my best.
It's great. Okay, so I don't know if you can share the screen. Let's see if it's possible.
If it works. Yeah, let's see. So, well, tell me if it's working or not, because if you have some problems
the presentation here. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
That's perfect. Okay, teams. I think that today Paloma has also access to the questions during all the session. So if you have any particular question during the presentation, you can also ask during the presentation. So we will not only have some time at the last part of the speak, but also during the session. So if you have anything in particular, always use the YouTube chat, and we can answer them. Okay. Yeah.
Great. Okay. So thank you, Sergio, and thank you everybody for being there and listening to us what we have to tell you. Well, I'll give you a brief intro on what we do in Fides Capital, who we are, and how we have evolved in the last years, and also our current investment criteria. But my main focus for today would be to really share with you our learnings and experiences investing in a startup, in technological startups, and hopefully give you some insights that might be helpful whenever you are in the position to raise money for your own startup. So as Sergio told you before, please do not hesitate to make any questions or do the comments to consider. This is the whole point of this, to have a dynamic conversation if possible. And so I'll try to be aware of your question along the following hour. So, well, I will start with Fides. Let's see if it works. Oops. Oh, I don't know if it's working. It worked before. There you go. Okay, so we are part of a private investment group called Perennial. Sometimes, or probably you've heard the term family office, and that's what we are. And in the group, we invest in several things, in financial products and real estate, but we also invest in high growth companies, and we do that through Fides Capital. I'm investment manager in Fides Capital, and we are a really small team. So, that's something that characterizes us, and I will tell you later. We started to invest in technological companies back in 2007. And since then, we have invested in 23 startups in 8 funds. That's part of our diversification strategy. And quite recently, we have started a new line of investment in a little bit more advanced companies. It's what we call a growth phase, and we've done so far 5 investments. So out of the 23 investment in startups, we still have 13 in the portfolio, although one is a partial exit. We've exited from completely from 6. Actually, one is still not yet formalized, but hopefully in this month we'll sign the deal. So 6 exits, and then also this is part of the game, 4 write-offs, which is not a bad ratio, I believe. If you talk to other investors, probably they'll tell you that they have a higher failure rate. But I try to think that this is because the way we choose the startups, we are not really obsessed with finding the next unicorn. We try to analyze carefully the startups and try to look for less riskier probably companies. So that's probably why we have not a high failure rate. And as of today, we have recovered more than half of the total amount we have invested, which amounts to 13 million euros, which is almost 1 million per year on average. And we have a multiple on exits of 2.5 times. But of course, if we consider the write-offs, which is something that you have to do, that goes down to 1.9%. Times. Okay, this goes a little bit slow. Okay, there. This graph shows our investment evolution. We think of that we are a startup ourselves, and that in the sense that we have, during the past 13 years, we have evolved in order to adapt to the changing ecosystem, and also to be faithful to our strengths and our weaknesses. And we have to know who we are and try to fit in that ecosystem the best possible way. So we started investing back in 2007 in very early stages, even in PowerPoint. And we did that till 2014. And then we stopped. We rethought all our investment strategy. And in 2019, after analyzing all the successes we had, but also the mistakes we made, we focused only on companies in a commercial phase with a proven business model. And then additionally, in 2019, as I told you before, we launched a new strategy in a little bit more mature companies. So here in the graph, the blue color shows the investment in the startups, the 23 startups. In dark color is for the seed phase, lighter color for the startup phase, a little bit more mature companies in the commercial phase. And then in green is the investments in funds. And our sweet spot in the investment strategy, it's in the following terms that I put there. It's gotta be like technological companies with B2B business models. In the commercial phase, we have to see commercial traction. For us, the team is key. It's very, very important. We really analyze the team and try to connect with the team. And we invest from 50,000 euros to 400,000 euros. And we do that progressively. We go from the low range to higher investment when they're trying to accompany the startup when they need the money in future rounds. We always co-invest with other financial investors. That's important. We didn't do that at the beginning in the seed phase, but we do it now always. And we don't take the lead road. We like to be the follower. And this is our current portfolio by sector and year of investment. So you can see that we still have 2 companies from 2008. We are really looking actively for the exit, but it's sometimes complicated. And we still from there, well, we still a kind of a rare investment in 2013, which is a Garanti, and it's internally developed company. We have a 50% of the company, and that's a little bit weird to say in our portfolio. And from then in 2015, we started to invest in a little bit more mature companies, as I told you. And the sectors in which we have invested goes from health, education, telecommunications, transportation, advertising, leisure, travel, fintech, productivity, energy. Sometimes we leave our investment criteria to if we see opportunities, and that's why we've done the 2 B2C companies as well, which is a little bit weird for us. And we've learned many things in the past 13 years, but I don't want to bother you with with the details or more aspect more related to the investor side. But here I would like to point out for you as entrepreneurs 3 things that I think they are quite important. One is that you have to really identify the type of investor you wanna fit with, or you have to fit with, because the same as we do the due diligence of the companies or on the teams, you have to really know who are the investors, what are they investing in, are they in an investment phase or they are in or exiting from the portfolio. How much do they invest? Do they follow the investment, or do you have capacity to follow on? So these are very important things that you have to keep in mind when you are trying to raise money. And that's gonna save you a lot of time, actually, because otherwise you'll be trying to contact investors that are not really gonna be interested in your company. Secondly, we really take time to know the team. So if you are thinking in raising money in 2 weeks, that's going to be very difficult. Actually, my recommendation would be to present your company to investor before you are in need of money. And that would be great, because investors they'll be able to follow the evolution of the company and know you much better. And when you are in the position to raise money, I'm sure that it will be easier and faster in order to close the round. And third, and that's more related to Fides, we are an active investor. We like to follow, to be side by side the team. Of course, we are not involved in the daily activity, but we try to be very close to the entrepreneurs in case they need anything, from financial support or legal terms in contracts or strategy in general or commercial advice or international expansion, access to network. It depends on the phase of the company, but sometimes to have someone close to you that can give you another point of view or some kind of help is really important. And well, this is our deal flow of a funnel in last year in 2019. And since we are a very small team, for us it's almost impossible to get to good projects. So we try to we try to leverage on our network, because otherwise it would be very, very difficult for us to get to those projects. And so here, if you see around or more than 40% of the deals we get come from networking and direct contacts, and more around 40% also are technological and B2B companies. So that for us is very important, because we can focus really on the projects that are more fit for us. And well, last year, out of the 200 projects we received, we analyzed in detail 12, which is a 6%. We did a direct investment, one through an indirect through a special purpose vehicle, and then 6 follow-on from the portfolio, and we left 4 companies to continue the analysis this year. And well, here is a brief summary of our investment and divestment evolution during the years. In blue are the companies in which we have we're still in the portfolio. Gray, it's the write-offs, and the exits in green color. Sorry. And well, actually, 2020 has not been a bad year for us. We have several new investments, and also we did exited from 4 companies. And well, going through our investment process, we divided in 4 phases: analysis, valuation, negotiation, and closing. Today, we only have time for the analysis, but of course, if you have any question regarding the other topics, please do not hesitate to contact me after the session. We can talk about our experience and give you our insights. And first, this is like a brief summary on should be an evaluation, the evaluation process. The 3 main criteria you should take into account, because for the entrepreneur, the project must accomplish some criteria, like that has to be viable, it has to be feasible. But for the investor, it also has to be investable, of course. So if you have to, of course, there has to be a market, a clear and identifiable market. Also, you have to have a competitive advantage. We'll talk about later about that. You have to have a team, a complementary team with management experience, and also you have to take into account the time, if it's the right time now to start your business. But that's important for you as entrepreneur. But if you want to raise money from an investor, your project should have scalability, and of course it should have a clear road to cash generation for investors. And we'll see later what does it mean, but you have to keep that in mind, because otherwise investor won't be interested in putting money in your project. It might be very attractive, but probably for the founder, not for an investor. And these are all the aspects we take into account when analyzing a company. Our internal aspect, external investments from the investment side, and we're going to go through all of them. I hope I have time to cover all. So first of all, opportunity. We found along these years many entrepreneurs who came with what they call a brilliant idea. But for us, that is not enough. Actually, it's not even seed to start a business. We want to see execution, and that's quite complicated. Actually, it's not easy. Well, you see if you are now working on your startup, that is very, very complicated, because of the environment is changing all the time, and you cannot take anything for granted. So that's a first question we try to make ourselves when, as investors, when we see a project, is if it solves a real need or a real problem. And we try to avoid what we call the SIS, which are the solutions in search of a problem. And there's many times that we face that. And of course, the problem should be as big as painful as possible. If it's gonna be popular or a growing problem or urgent or mandatory or expensive, frequent, you name it. No, but you have to. That would be great if you can find a very big, painful problem. That's great because it makes everything easier. Of course, again, the competitive advantages you may have. We also look at this dilemma: is your product a must-have or a nice-to-have? Because it's not bad if you are a nice-to-have, but it will condition your marketing strategies and your go-to-market and everything. So you have to bear that in mind. And again, the timing, it's very, very important. So here is our main, let's say, focus when we analyze the project. The team for us must be complementary. We don't really like the solo entrepreneur company. We don't believe that a person is able to do everything, to know about everything. In fact, teams with no management experience or with no internal business or marketing profile probably won't be a fit for us. And great technicians who have never faced the market and outsource key areas of the company are not really of our interest. So I think that for us, that's really very important. But on the other side, although we need a complementary team, we also look for leadership. Someone who is going to be the point of contact with investors, someone who can join the thoughts of the rest of the ideas of the rest of the group. And well, here also sometimes we have problems with the family ties in the team. And right now, when we see a team that is made of several family members, we look them a bit with a bit of scared. On the other hand, experience for us is very, very important. Also education, but I'm not one of these investors that want an MBA in their team no matter what. I prefer to have positive attitude in the entrepreneurs, and if necessary, why not have the support of external consultants specialized in different areas of the business and with sound professional network that may be essential to anticipate situation or accelerate deadlines, decisions, strategies. We see that in certain sectors or phases of the company is quite important. Execution, as I told you, is the key. It's very important, and also have ambition. We want to see that you want to conquer the world, and at the same time, we try to look for entrepreneurs that listen, able to listen, and that they are aware of their limitations. Whenever it's necessary to hire a senior profile in order to go through different phases or more mature phases of the project, that it's good that the entrepreneurs, the founders, are able to assume this and probably have a less important role in the company at some point, although they keep their share, of course, but it's for the good of the great good for the success of the business. And we've seen sometimes lack of commitments when the entrepreneurs have a low percentage of the company, or when they haven't put any money, or when they earn a very high salary, or of course when they are not full-time employees, they are only part-time in the company. That's that doesn't really like us. We don't really like that. But not only that, for us, it's also probably we are a bit quite different investor. I don't know, but we also pay attention to other aspects, more intangible, such as values, personal affinity, alignment of interests. That's very important, even from the beginning of the relationships with entrepreneurs. That's very important to be aligned in the future of the company. And we search for good people and that they show enthusiasm. So it's gonna be tough. The race of a startup is difficult. You're gonna face a lot of problems, difficulties along the way. So the more closed and more aligned are entrepreneurs and investors, the better, because you'll see that you're probably in an early stage now, but you'll see that you're gonna face difficulties along the way. So we've learned from the past experiences that it's critical to dedicate time to know the team very well and how they behave. And that's what I told you before, that we prefer to know a company, a project, before they need the money. And so we can earn this or create this relationship without money in the middle, without the money in the middle, and that for us that's worked very well in the past. So the product here, the problem that I told you before is gonna be, of course, big, but important, urgent, and everything. But you'll have to be able to explain it to an investor in a simple and very understandable way. It's like put here, your grandma should be able to understand it. And sometimes, believe it or not, we don't find that in a presentation. The founder doesn't really know very well how to explain the project, or is very confused, or is very long, or they don't go to the point. So I recommend that you have a very simple and clear speech. And also, I would say that I tend to think that, okay, if they aren't able to explain this clearly to investors, are they going to be able to tell the story of the product and what it does to a client when they go to see a client? So that's something that sometimes I tend to think when I don't really understand the project. And you have to bear in mind that we are not experts. We have probably money, but we don't have to know about your sector or your technology. And when talking about technology allows to do almost everything, and that's great, but that's also a problem, because sometimes for entrepreneurs, it's very, very difficult to focus. They think they can do everything with the technology, and they are very dispersed, so it's very complicated. And then on the other hand, please bear in mind that the technology should be at the service of the user, not the other way around. And a good user experience is essential to sell your product. Also important, customers are usually reluctant to technological change, and employees fear losing their job with the introduction of new technologies. So that might slow down a lot the closing of the sale and even the implementation time after the sale. So that's something that I really recommend you that you keep that in mind. On the other hand, talking about scalability, sometimes the startup faces a problem, and it's a cash problem, and they think that, okay, if we have a product but we cannot sell it, why don't we sell services, consultancy, in order to make money, to pass these months instead of selling the product, which is probably more difficult. It takes more time. And that's probably, it solves a short-term problem, but it's gonna generate a problem in the future, because your company is gonna lose scalability, and you have to bear that in mind. It's much better, at least for investors that we look for scalability, to have an off-the-shelf product and sell it unattended. That'll be the main goal, no, for an startup. It's complicated, but especially to big enterprises, because they always look for personalizations. But I think you should try to do it if you wanna be scalable and to have investors, interest in your company. And also another dilemma is in-house development versus outsourcing. And we've seen many different or many cases in which startups don't have enough money to have it in-house, the development, and they outsource. And you have to take care of that. If you outsource to big companies, they might copy the product, the idea, or even the technology. So sign NDAs if possible. And on the other hand, the market is very changeable. Normally you have to adapt very quickly, so it's much better to have the technology inside if it's possible. Otherwise, if you have to have it outsourced, try to bring it inside as soon as possible. And another thing about technology, about product, the intellectual property. Many people think that it is not worth it to spend money on that. It depends. That's not very clear. You have to evaluate the pros and cons. It's true that we've seen that many international investors really look for companies that have protected their product. Otherwise, they won't invest. So that's something that you should know. And on the other hand, regarding IP aspects, try to avoid conflicts with big companies. They have unlimited resources, and they might even lead to the closure of the startup if you keep trying to fight against them. And for us, well, the product manager is the key person in the team. It relates the development with the client, with the market. And another thing that I would like to point out is that you should put the product first over technology, because technology, as I told you, you might do anything, but the product is what you're really gonna sell to the market. No, they're gonna pay for you. So, okay, so after you have your product, your team, and then you have to go to the market, and then selling is very complicated. And what we have seen is that many entrepreneurs underestimate it. They think that since they have a great product, they're gonna sell it, and that's not really the case. So another thing that I think is important is that you have to identify as soon as possible the negotiation strength of your clients. I mean, it's if they have a lot of power, it will take probably more time to sell. The terms will be different, and that would condition the whole financing strategy and the success of the company. So bear that in mind. Other things that we found over the years is that sometimes we found founders that think that the more commercial the company have, the more they will sell, and that's not always the same, at least not on a sustainable way. So before starting to invest a lot of money to scale commercially, you have to find the product market fit and really know how to leverage your growth strategy. And how do you do that? Well, you have to find what is called buyer persona, your perfect client. And of course, which is not easy at all. It's not easy, because when you have a technology, you put a new technology in the market, probably there will be like new clients, new necessities, new everything. And that's very difficult to identify who will be your perfect client. And then you have to master your sales funnel, that I'm sure that you already know what is it, because it's one of the most important things that an investor will ask you. And also for us, it's important to have a marketing expert in the team. because what we said before, it's a very tangible environment, and you have to test the product and the marketing strategy continuously, and have many alternatives, and do it very often in order to get to find that perfect client. And we've seen also many times that selling, especially to large companies, is usually more effective if you start with a small functionality that solves a specific problem to a certain group of people within that company. And after that, you can be able to grow within that organization. But trying to go with the whole range of functionalities your product does, that's I think what we're seeing, that it's a mistake, because it takes a lot of time to get to the right people, that they understand the product, that they really decide to buy it. So better go to something specific and then grow it, and when they know you, when they have confidence in you. Focus on what the company does best, and where you are more differential. That's you have limited resources as a startup, and you have to be very focused. And of course, the product market fit, that's like finding the magic formula, and is getting to really the point in which everything starts to flow. And well, for us, the business model monetization is very important. Probably you'll see other investors that they are looking more for user acquisition, but not really monetization. For us, is really a key. We really need to know how to make money, and you have to do it. Well, we recommend that you try to get your business model as simple as possible, because when you have a pricing strategy, very complicated, many products in your offer, I think we think that it really complicates the access to the market. And another very important thing for us is break even. You should, or we look for companies that are already in a break even, or at least they might be in a break even. They are not, because they are growing and they are investing in working capital, but they might get to break even if they cut certain costs in case, well, something like crisis like the COVID today arrives. And well, different models, there are so many type of different business models. I'm sure you already know all of them. We normally focus on B2B and SaaS models. We like the recurrency of those models. And regarding economic sustainability and scalability that I've talked before a lot, we really try to identify as soon as possible the business model with that economic sense. If they are not sustainable in terms of incomes or expenses. We avoid the models that are difficult to scale. We've seen that it's very difficult to change from one B2C business model to a B2B business model when the product doesn't have the sufficient quality, especially when for big companies, because they really look for top product. Well, this is something I'd like to point out also, because I think it's important. And we had a problem with one company because of this. We don't really like when we identify that a business plan is done. It has been prepared by an intermediary without the involvement of the entrepreneurs, because you have to really know and manage your business, and even if it's a very simple business model, but you should be able to do it by yourself. So when you are not involved in that, well, we had problems in the past, and we don't want to repeat them. And well, here are the numbers. Of course, we are investors, we are financial people, and we like to see numbers. And traction is something that we really look for. It's very weird that we invest in a company that doesn't have commercial traction. And to see that, how do we do it? We want to see your metrics. And really your metrics, we don't really ask for different metrics. We want to see what do you use in order to manage your company? What KPIs do you use? I've put here many different words that you probably already master: the churn, the cost analysis, the sales funnel, lifetime value, customer acquisition cost, payback period, monthly recurring rate or annual recurring rate. Those are probably, I'm sure, there are going to be questions that our investors are gonna make you, because they really like to see the evolution of those KPIs in the past, and of course the projections in the future. So regarding projections, we don't really look for very long-term projections. We really like to see that 2 or 3 year plan, and we know that probably it's not gonna be like that. It's difficult to accomplish, but on the other hand, because you are in a very early phase and it's difficult to know the future, no, when it's gonna happen. But still, we really want to know that you know you manage your business. You know which are the things on what you have to pay attention, the other things that you can't rely on, and you can do that with your business plan. And if something happens, you have your plan B or C or Z, whatever, in order to adapt and to be flexible and try to change things. No, but if you are having thought about this before, it will be difficult that you do it like that in a single minute if something happens. And finally, cash for us is very, very important. Cash, you have to do your cash forecast at least 12 months because it takes a lot of money to raise, a lot of time to raise money, and you have to really have the time to get the round closed. And 7 is for us that also very important: market and competition. Timing, we talked about before. Is very important. Is the market ready now for starting your business? If the market is hot or fashionable, there is more competition probably, and it will be more expensive to enter for us investors. But also, if we are in a selling position, probably we have more options to exit. And on the other hand, if we entered early in a company and the market doesn't understand the product, it will take a lot of time to develop the idea and to really get to monetize the company. But if we enter late, probably there will be a lot of competition. So you have to bear that in mind. It's very important. And also it's very important to anticipate a crisis in your client sector. For example, we had one of our portfolio companies back in the 2008 or 9 with the bank crisis. They sold the product to banks, and of course the product was very, very good, but the bank didn't have neither the time nor the money to spend in a product for them. So we had to close the company actually. And also, regarding size, you have to bear in mind that probably the present size of the market won't be the same as the future size, because of what I call here the startup effect. You might be able to put a new product in the market and create new necessities in the people, and you might be able to make the market bigger, which is great. Probably also it will be a more low-cost product, and in economic terms, I don't know if it will grow or not, and you have to take that also in mind. But I think it's important to really have a thorough analysis on the market size and calculate well the amount of the market, which we see many times that doesn't happen in the presentations. And we prefer the bottom up approaches to the market than the top down. I mean, like I rather see a project that tells me I have these are the number of clients we're gonna get with these many commercials and in this time and this will cost that. I'd rather see that than I'm gonna get a 2% of this total market size. And then regarding competition, do not settle for a superficial analysis of the competition and consider direct and indirect competitors. I mean that if your clients use Excel, that's your competition, even though it's not the same as what you do. But if they use it, that's your competition, and you cannot. You have to compare with them. And of course, since you are a startup and have limited resources, be creative and savvy, and compare and improve. That for us, that's a great thing to do. You have to take advantage of your position and try to be creative. And regarding competitive advantages and differentiation, you have to create your entry barriers, and that's really very important. You have to, and that can come from different areas, from the team, because you have a specific knowledge or connections within the sector, or market, because we've seen it's very big or it's growing, or the problem is very urgent, or whatever you may face. And the product, normally it's said that you have to be 10 times better and 10 times cheaper than your competition in order to have that top position in the market. And according to the business model, your entry barriers could be a network effect, or being the first mover advantage, or having the first mover advantage, or virality through marketing. For example, you have zero acquisition cost, or you have partnerships or commercial agreements. That'd be great, because you can create those entry barriers, and it would be more difficult for competition to enter the market, and also for the clients to leave you as a provider. So then, according to financing, I told you that numbers, we love numbers, but we also love cash as investor. And it's essential that you plan your financing needs. And sometimes we've seen projects that come to us and they don't really know what they want. They want to raise money. They want to raise money in following this criteria. Okay, I don't want to dilute more than 10%, and I think I need, or my valuation is gonna be 5 million. Then I'm gonna raise this amount of money. And well, that's not very serious for us, actually. And we really ask you as entrepreneurs, how much money do you need to grow? What do you need the money for, the destination of funds, and also until when you're gonna need that money, and what is the goal? What are you gonna fulfill with that money? Are you gonna get to break even? You're gonna get to your first 1,000 clients? We wanna see stages in the development of the company, and of course don't consider only private money. You can go to public funding, or you can go to banks if possible, or on other alternatives. There are many alternatives right now. One thing I would like to point out regarding public funding is that sometimes it's a little bit tricky, because public loans support R&D, and if the development extends beyond the grace period, the company will not generate enough money through sales to meet its debt repayment commitments. So you have to match very carefully your inflows with the outflows in order to be able to pay the loans. And of course, when you decide to open a new round, your current shareholders, your current financial shareholders, as well as the new investor, they will ask themselves different questions. For the current shareholders, they will have to decide between contributing more money or being diluted. For the new ones, it will be a really leap on the value of the company with the money I'm going to put here. They will also ask for current investors to participate in the round. So for that, you have to be very, very careful with your current investors in order to show them the value of the company and to give them the calm, the tranquility to put more money in the company in the future, and that it's gonna be a good business, no? And on the other hand, investors are not a financial lifeguard. Really, the clients should be the best investor in the company. So I think that, and sometimes I get a little mad with the news that we've seen that we try to celebrate it a lot, the big rounds, but I think we should really celebrate more the big contracts with clients. No? So rounds is something like secondary, should be secondary for me, at least that's my thought, for any startup, and you should really focus on sales and money if it's really necessary. It should be to really grow the company, to go to the next step, and to really provide, give value to your investor, to your shareholders. And the deal structure, well, at least for us, it's important to see who are the other investors, since we co-invest, and that we have to be aligned. Of course, who is the leader and what are the conditions of the round. You have to think of all of that when you are trying to create or mount this new round where you're looking for this new money, and you have to really get a pool of investors that really fit. And for us, at least, it's important that the other investor have financial capacity in order to follow on in the future rounds if they come. Because we have a limited ticket, as I told you, like 50 to 400,000 euro, and we don't want to put the company in a position in which they won't be able to get enough money to get to the next step. That next step is jump in value that I told you that is important to go to the next stage and to show the evolution of the company. And then another thing that quickly is valuation is one thing, and the terms of the shareholders agreement might really change valuation. Even though you think you are closing around at, let's say, 5 million, it depending on what it's in the terms of the shareholders agreement, that might change a lot. But not only for the investor, the current investor, but also for the entrepreneurs. Like there are many clauses in the document, the contract, that might really change the reality of the valuation, like the dilution, etc. And well, here, as I told you, is another very important criteria for investor is exit, the road to cash generation. And how do we get that? It's not only selling the company, which at least for us, it could be like getting dividends from the company, or even a buyback from the entrepreneurs. If the company is able to generate cash by itself, we can get to an agreement in which you can buy our share of the company, and when we leave the company, you get the whole company, the 100% company for you. And how do we do it? Of course, selling the whole company, but also selling the technology. And for that, and to get a credible and real and a strategic buyer, it's to that with whom to be able to really show value and create synergies. That would mean like more a bigger, probably a higher price for the company, you really have to gain size and gain visibility, because otherwise, if you are in your small town or area and you are pretty small, that will be very, very difficult that some international or non-international investor will get to know you and will get to see if there is a fit and interest in your company. And when is the best moment to sell? That's a very, very difficult question. Sometimes you have to do it, even though you don't want to. This year, for instance, one of our exits has been in a company that we didn't really want to exit because we thought there's still value to gain in the future. But some other investors, like earlier investors, wanted to leave the company, wanted to exit, and we had to sign the deal. So for the good of the rest of the investors. And sometimes even though you think it's not the time, you have to sell, and sometimes you think it's the time and you don't get any buyers. So it's a very, very difficult question and to answer. And well, here we are. That's the whole point, the whole game, in order to get a success in our, at least in our activity, in a financial activity. And then I put here later just a brief summary of our investment process. It's how we try to go through the different areas, from the less deep analysis to the thorough and more complex analysis and legal terms of the agreement, etc., and to negotiation. And this is all I wanted to tell you today, in order for me to let you know we're having our experiences in the investment process in technological companies during the past year. And if you have any question or if you want to comment anything, please feel free. It would be great to have I don't know if we have time, but if we have time, that'd be great.
Yes, thank you very much, Paloma. It was really a great masterclass about all the process of investment and what the KPIs and metrics do you need to really be interested in a project. We have some questions here. For example, there's one from Gopila, the beginning of the presentation, that is asking, what is a write-off?
Write-off is one company that didn't succeed. It's a failure for us, and we have to. The company has to close because the business doesn't work, and you cannot continue with the activity, and you have to close. And then for us, since we lose all our money, it's called a write-off. It's like you write it off from your list of investments.
Yeah. There's another one from Oscar. Yeah, regarding family members, do you mean founders or investors?
I mean for founders. It's for us. It's been like when there are family members in the founding team. We've had some problems. It's not like at least they didn't behave themselves as professional founders, and that's a little bit complicated. The F of family, friends, full and family. That's another another family. That's the investor.
There's this one is just like anecdotes. Do you have like any anecdotes of issues that came up from founders being family or longtime friends? This is something.
The problem is that they are family at the end, no? And they try to cover, at least in our case, they try to cover each other's issues. And we didn't get to know the real problems in the company because they didn't want to show us. They were not. I think they were not professional enough, actually. I'm sure that is not a problem of all the family members if they are in a founding team, but in our case, they try to cover each other.
Okay, so there's another question from Andreina. what type of documents do you like to see prepare? What do you need to get ready besides the investor's deck, the financial books, or competitors map table, business plan for how long, marketing, others? Yeah, like what kind of documents do you like to see prepare when they reach to you?
Normally for us, the process will be this one. I mean, we see a deck, a very short deck. I don't really want to see like a very, very long document. And if that catches our attention, then I'll have a conversation with the team. I will go through the main important points. And then if the interest continues, then I would ask for more information, the financial projections for sure, the commercial plan, and since we like to invest in technology, we'll do like a little due diligence on the product, on the technology side. And so we'll talk with the CTO and we'll get to know a little bit of the insights of the product. But yeah, we'll go through phases in order not to ask for too much if for some reason we are not interested in the project, doesn't fit our criteria. So we go through phases and we try to ask for more information as long when we are sure that we are interested in continuing the analysis.
Great. And there's another question here from Miguel from Commodore. First is, hi Paloma, thank you very much for your masterclass. Yeah, it was great. My question is, what metrics will you need to consider? Will you need to consider an investment in a SaaS business in the early stage?
Okay, that is a bit difficult because it depends on the business. It is if the company sells a product of 100 euros, it's not the same as 10,000 euro because the metrics are going to be different. But on average, let's say, I like to see like an MRR of at least 30,000 euro. Otherwise, it will be a bit difficult for us to enter in the company. 30,000, I would say that it's like an average amount, although it depends on the project, because if it's as I told you, if it's a low cost product, then we'll see traction much with a lower amount of MRR.
There's another question here from Denis. Hi Paloma, if a company after first rounds may grow organically without additional rounds, I mean when achievable growth does not require further reinvestments, how do you manage usually your exit?
Probably in that case, we'll have to talk to the founders and see, because this is one of the things I told you at the beginning. We have to be aligned in when we invest, and we gotta talk at the beginning with the founders about certain things. And one of them would be, okay, you are prepared to sell the company in, let's say, 5 years, yes or no? If we don't sell the company, will you be able to buy our share if the company is generating cash, yes or no? Because they have to know that we need to exit. So we can talk to the founders and see if they're willing to buy our share, or if they are willing to make a change of investor, to say someone enters in our position and we leave. Or another thing that, at least for us, it could be a good solution is to pay dividends. If the company is generating cash, they don't need money in new rounds, and they are generating cash, they might pay dividends. So we can also go for that alternative. But it's something that it would be good to talk before, because otherwise actually we have a situation like that in our portfolio, and it's been difficult to leave the company. And this year we got they bought as a part of our investment. So that's what we are doing. They don't want a new investor. They want to keep they want to still be the founders. They don't want to sell. So we have to find a solution among each other.
Great. There's another question from Marco from Motoreto. Paloma, big market with strong competitors or a niche market with weak competitors? What is better scenario for you as an investor?
Oof, it's difficult to. If you you also have to bear in mind that what is your competitive advantage and how much money do you have? Because I think a big market with strong competitors, I think it will be better, but you have to know that you have to spend a lot of money and find we have another example of that in the portfolio, and it's a very big market, strong competition, and you have to find a competitive advantage within the market. You're not going to be able to fight against the big monsters because you're not going to have that much money. So you can do that, but you have to have a clear competitive advantage. In a niche market, it depends on the size of the market, and sometimes that I think that will be more complicated because again you have to be if there is no competition, you are the only one. I don't know. Maybe it's attractive. We have to see the numbers, but it's difficult. I think you should see the case. Well, actually, that's what we do. We analyze each case independently. We don't say no, but we really analyze and pay attention to the pros and cons of each case.
There is another question from Rea, from the Money Squad. Is it absolutely essential to have a team right from the start? Is it common to ask for funding to hire a CTO?
For us, yes, it's very important to have a team from the start. At least 2 persons, and with the more important skills that we think the team needs. For us, that's important. Yeah. Otherwise, we won't be able to invest. It's not the same there are many different type of investors. This is our case, and this is what we have learned, and where we feel that we really fit, that we can value our position in the ecosystem. But there are many other type of investors that they might think another thing. Sometimes when you are in early stages, you have to hire a CTO, and we've done that also in one of our startups. I don't really like it, but no, we have started with outsourcing the product, the development. I don't really like it, but you have to internalize it afterwards. And yes, you have to hire, in that case, you have to hire a CTO. And we have CTOs that are not members of the team, but they have to have quite a specific profile, very motivated for many reasons, maybe to have some stock options, shares. If it's the perfect fit for the team, the CTO is a key role, and you have to really take care of that position and not lose. If your project technology is core in the business. Otherwise you can really outsource the development.
There's another one here from Alvaro. Have you ever financed a B2C e-commerce? If so, which KPIs you paid more attention to?
No. We have invested this year in a company called We Are Meters, but through a special purpose vehicle. We don't invest directly in the company. So I've seen the metrics, but I don't really have the feeling to tell you which would be our our investment criteria regarding B2C business model, because I won't be able to analyze the company. In order to invest directly in the company, I won't be able to do it. I don't have the expertise to analyze a B2C business model. That's why we don't really invest in B2C, because it has other dynamics. Normally, you have to get more users than clients, and then that means that you have to get money from outside. By probably like by new rounds, in order to finance the company, because the user won't pay for the product sometimes. So that's something that for us is very, very difficult to analyze.
Okay, so that's all the questions. If you have any other question, teams, or you have like any doubts, or in any case you have some questions, probably not today, but tomorrow or 1 month, we have the contact of Paloma, and I'm sure she will be happy to reply all the questions and to be in contact with you. And that's all. Thank you very much, Paloma. The masterclass was great. Really, it's impressive, and it's great for them to understand what is your point of view and how does it work for an investor to make an investment and make a decision. And that's it. Yeah, there's people here saying thank you. Yeah.
Thank you very much, everybody. It was a long speech. Hopefully you learned something. Thank you.
Yes. We also have like the session recorded, so if you always want to come back to the session and look for something you didn't understand, and then contact Paloma, it's here. So
sure,
thank you very much.
Thank you. Whatever you need, please contact me. Don't hesitate. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
See you. Okay, so now we will be here with Alfonso. Just give me a second, Alfonso. I'll give you access to the broadcast. Yeah. Ooh. Now, yes. Hello, Alfonso.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, you're live. Thank you very much for being here with us today, this afternoon. We know it was a busy afternoon for you today. You're just arriving from a meeting, so thank you very much for sharing this afternoon with us.
Yeah, thank you very much, guys, for inviting us.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, so now we will be talking about the investment, but from the point of view of the startup. I think that today we have the very special and the best speaker for this topic. Alfonso is the Chief Growth Officer of Binex. They have experienced the process of fundraising a few times with investors and with equity crowdfunding, nearly everything. It was really an impressive equity crowdfunding campaign. So I think that today we can also know how it was, what was the experience, what Binex during all these months and all the years of working at Binex. And also we have the possibility of asking Alfonso anything we want to know. So that's it. I really encourage you to make any questions through the YouTube chat. Alfonso is not going to share any slides, so it will be great if you have all the questions. You can always send through the YouTube chat, and he will have some all the time to reply them all.
Yes, so I think that the best way is I will basically go through a bit of a timeline, how we started until now, and then after I explain all the things that we've done, etc., you can ask any questions that you like. I think that's the best way to do this.
That's it. Great, Alfonso. I leave you on the stage.
So basically, I don't know the exact number of how much money we've raised till this moment. It's certainly more than 40 million euros. Most of them from outside of Spain. So we never settle with only Spanish investors. But this 40 million euros, I think it has been. I mean, it depends on how you count them, but it's mostly it's mainly in 6 different rounds. Okay, during this time, even though we are still in the Series A, but what we've basically done is, so when we started in 2017, there was a first round where where friends of Guillermo and Tato, who are the founders, were basically put the initial 50,000 euros, right? We could call that the friends and family round. Then later, we did our first crowdfunding. That was in April 2017, where we raised 300,000 euros in less than 24 hours. Actually, that was very. We can talk about crowdfunding later, by the way, but that was quite interesting because we did it through Crowdcube. We did a small campaign. We basically talked with a lot of big investors to ask them to invest in the crowdfunding, but we also got like many small investors that didn't know anything about us except for the information that we shared with Crowdcube. But the funny thing was that there was supposed to be a limit of 240,000 euros that we were going to raise in that crowdfunding, but Crowdcube team and even us, nobody expected that we were going to reach that number so quickly. We reached it in less than 20 hours. And actually, at that moment, the Crowdcube team was on vacation, like on a holiday or something or a company retreat they were doing. So we didn't get a hold of them until we had actually reached 300,000 euros. Instead of throwing that money away, we ended up taking a bit more money in that round. But it was certainly something, we ended up taking more money than what we thought was necessary at the time, which was quite interesting. Then now with those 350,000 euros, we launched the first beta of the product. So bear in mind that this is April 2017. We launched the first beta of the card with the marketplace in September 2017, and we managed to let's say take that money, and it was a very stressed time, to be honest. But we managed to extend that money until March or April 2018. And in that moment, that's when we raised our first, our Series Seed, where, just so you understand, there was, I think, we raised 1.5 million at the time. And I think only around 150,000 was from a Spanish investor. So we went very, very quickly outside of Spain to look for investment. And I think this is really important for all of you, because one of the things that I've seen most common in Spanish startups is that we tend to have this like bias where we need to focus on finding Spanish investors instead of going abroad. And I think that's obviously it's usually easier to go for investors in your own home country, but it's certainly not the only way that you can approach this. And there's lots and lots of investors out there that are willing to invest in a Spanish company with a Spanish home market. This is like, at the time in 2017, most people said that was very difficult. We achieved it, I wouldn't say easily, but it wasn't insurmountable. And we did raise a big chunk of money from people from the outside. Mainly, I think that most of it was people based in France and in Switzerland, just so you know. So there's not only London out there, there's many countries in Europe and even in the US, and you can go search money in any of them, and that will be, and it's perfectly possible to do so. So that's when we raised our Series Seed. And bear in mind, and just so you fully understand, like at this moment, we had raised 1.8 million, and we were competing with N26 and Revolut that at this point maybe they had raised, I don't know, more than 100 million each, certainly. So we were in a distinct disadvantage when you compared, how much money they had raised and how much money they were willing to invest in Spain, because each of those companies, the budget that they had for Spain in 2018 was more than doubled of what we had raised until that moment. So this actually was one of the main questions that the investors would ask us at that time, and that was, how are you going to win against these guys that have raised so much money? And they're, I have heard from one investor that that the N26 budget for 2018 in Spain is 3 million. Well, you've raised, and that's only one of your competitors. The truth is that in the end, execution is key. And during 2018, we got from 0 users, or well, from 1,000 users, apart from the beta, to 100,000 users with around 30% less budget than what we expected. So that's one of the reasons of why later in 2019, we were able to raise our Series A, where we raised basically 22.5 million, I think it was. Yes, I think, or 20 or 22 million. I don't know if it was dollars or euros, to be completely honest. But yes, it was 22.5 something. And that's when we raised that Series A. The official date is September 2019, but the real date is more complicated than that, and that is one of the things that we did that was actually very successful from Guillermo's point of view. Is that so? One of the most difficult parts of raising a big round, and more when you actually need the money to do so, is to find the perfect moment to start fundraising and the right moment to get the money inside the company. Now, one of the things that we used for the Series A was a vehicle called convertible notes. So a convertible note is basically like debts that investor would give you. They would give you, okay, I will invest 5 million euros, and they will give you 5 million euros. Now, that money, instead of being equity at the moment, what you do is basically say, okay, this is not going to be equity right now, but I will transform it into equity at the valuation of the next round. So once we finally close our Series A, if we decide that this is the valuation, this 5 million, I will value them at that valuation, usually with a discount, right? Because you've put money at your own risk. And there's a formula we use very successfully for that Series A. Because, I mean, raising 22.5 million, at the time, it was the second biggest round in Spain ever. The only one that had done something bigger was Hawkers, the glasses brand, which I think raised 40 million, most of them through the Venezuelan contacts, etc. But at that time, it was the biggest Series A done in Spain, second biggest, and the biggest one in the fintech sector. And that's how we did it. Instead of just getting everyone in 1 month to put 22.5 million, we did it over time, and we start getting 5 million from this guys, 10 million from this guys, 2.5 million from this other guys, and then we closed a valuation, and all of the ones that had entered before, they just got into the Series A. Then the other thing that we did at that time is we did another crowdfunding campaign in October 2019. Now, in this crowdfunding campaign, we raised close to 3 million euros, and actually the first million euros we raised it in less than an hour, which was really, really encouraging for us. We were trying to beat the highest score that existed in Spain at the time, that had been our own record of raising the round as fast as we could. And actually, we got a huge support from our clients, and it was quite as you can imagine, a very great moment in the BNX office when we saw, we opened the crowdfunding, and we saw how the number went up so quickly. But I will get into more detail about how to do crowdfunding if anyone is interested. And then, and I think that, and I'm finishing now the timeline, right? So we did the Series C, then the Series A, then we opened the crowdfunding, we raised another 3 million. And now in 2020, as you can imagine, it's been a tough year for everyone. A lot of people have this idea that banks are doing well in the pandemic because a lot of people are using cards. That's quite far from the truth. I mean, you just need to look at the valuation of all the main banks in Spain and in the world, and you will see that in the stock market they've gone down significantly. Even N26, Revolut, etc., and us, we've been hurt quite deeply by this. One of the main reasons is basically the travel. So travel, bear in mind that a lot of the and to give you a number, right? In 2016, 10% of Santander's revenue came from people who did FX. So either transfers or paying with a card. 10% of the revenue. And I think the revenue at the time was maybe 6 billion, so 600 million. Now, 2020, this has disappeared for everyone. And all the things that were generated by the travel sector were really a high yield market. So you were able to get, most banks will charge you 3% on every foreign transaction, right? That's a huge amount of money for them. And even when we didn't earn money through that way, we did have, for example, a lot of our products in our marketplace were dedicated for travel, and all of that ended in March, in the 14th of March, right? So one of the challenges that we had is, we need to make sure that the company is able to endure at least probably until end of 2021 without raising any more money from the outside. So that's when we started going back to our investors. And this is one of the good things also of having powerful investors in your cap table, right? Most of the funds that had invested in VCs that had invested in the Series A had really deep pockets and were willing to invest again on Binex. And that's when we raised another 11 million from our own investors back in July from this year. And we basically had to present them, this is our plan, this is how we're going to survive this period, and this is what we are going to do to achieve the next point of monetization and of growth in order to be able to raise a Series B, right? And this was a tough time for everyone, but it was actually very, very enlightening doing this exercise with our own investors, where we basically looked into our own heart, you could say, and say exactly what do we need to reach this next step, right? And that's basically a bit of the timeline. I don't know if we can do it both ways. We can do it with a couple of questions now, and then I can go and deep dive into, for example, the crowdfunding, which I think will be very interesting for many of you, or I can go into the crowdfunding directly and then you ask me questions. I don't know what you prefer, Sergio. I cannot hear you, Sergio.
It always happens to me, yeah. There is a question now from Miguel. Yes, it's also regarding the crowdfunding. So I think, yes, if you explain like everything about crowdfunding, the question is just like, is there like any crowdfunding platform that you recommend that I think is the best?
Yes, we've used both of the times Crowdcube. It certainly is the most advanced. It did have some problems when we raised money on the first time and on the second time. Most of them are now solved. And also, just so you know, for example, Cedars, which was the second biggest one in Europe, they've just actually merged with Crowdcube. So there's basically little option right now. Now, the great thing is that right now, Crowdcube is able to raise money in multiple currencies. When we did it and raised 3 million, they only were able to raise in pounds, which has brought us, quite a bit of problems, to be honest. Like, for example, if you think about it, most of the people were obviously investing in euros, so they would pay with their card or do a transfer in euros. Then Crowdcube would switch it to pounds, right? But then later on, they would need to switch it back to euros to make the investment in us. So there was like maybe, even though that the exchange rates that they used were quite good, there was still a bit like 3% of the investment total that was lost, right? And then later on, we had to actually do a bit of a round up and round down for some users, and we needed to put some money from our side. But apart from those, minor issues that are more operational than anything else, Crowdcube is able to bring you investors from many parts of Europe and even the world that have surprisingly deep pockets, right? Like, I don't know, I think out of the 3 million, maybe 500,000 euros were from 10 people that put the maximum of 50,000 euros that Crowdcube has, and that we had never even met before. Like, literally, like, people would put 50,000 euros in BNext just because it was announced in Crowdcube, and that's it, which is quite surprising, right? But it was really, really good too. Now, I think it would be a lot of you might think that crowdfunding is a way to go, and I think crowdfunding is a great way to raise money. And I can go in a bit into depth on how we did it so fast and so successfully. But for me, crowdfunding is a bit like a normal. I mean, doing a marketing campaign. It's very, very similar to acquiring customers, to be honest. I mean, for normal investors, like when they are putting a lot of money, they really need to think about the process a lot. They will do an extreme due diligence. They will do a lot of things. But in crowdfunding, most of that work is done by the platform itself. So what you need is to choose a platform that enough people trust, okay? Because 95% of the people who will invest in you will not even look at any of the documents you put in. Because, I mean, like literally, people will put 3,000 euros in BNext, and they hadn't even read anything and all the information we shared. Because later on they would ask it, right? And it's amazing, like, why did you invest 3,000 euros if you didn't even read the documents we shared, right? But people would do that. And that's why it's important to understand that the psychology of a crowdfunding round is very different from a normal funding round. In a normal funding round, you will go through multiple committees, through multiple people, until you finally get, your term sheet, and then you will negotiate. In a crowdfunding campaign, you will create the term sheet from the very beginning. You will share it with Crowdcube, and you will negotiate with them. Then you do all the due diligence, where you validate all the data that you're sharing, etc. You create your pitch, your presentation, and then what we did basically was a pre-launch. So we first announced our Series A, right? Then 15 days after announcing our Series A, we opened like a waiting list for our users, where we said, hey, we are going to raise 1 million euros for crowdfunding. Be the first to do this. Now, the original idea was actually to raise 1.5 million. We did say that it was 1 million in order to create a bit of FOMO, of fear of missing out. But we ended up opening it a lot more, basically because we got the permission from the investors because it was going so well, right? But all this pre-launch campaign that we did, what we did was basically create a lot of fear of missing out, right? We contacted people. We told them that it was going to be very quick. As I told you, like in less than an hour, it was filled, right? The first million. We told them exactly all the information that we were going to give later on when we opened the Crowdcube. We started sending it to these people who signed up for the pre-launch waiting list. Then we send them, different perks, as Crowdcube calls them. Like, if you invest more than 1,000 euros, you will get a full year of premium for free. If you invest more than 2,000 euros, you will get also access to a party that we'll organize, etc., etc. And then we basically tailored. We also opened a section in our community for investors that were in the waiting list, and then later on for investors. And this was actually very helpful to deal with all the questions that we had before the Crowdcube was opened. And then we opened the Crowdcube, right? And I would tell you that here everything was easy, and we did it in 1 hour. To be honest, it was 2 crazy weeks where hundreds, I mean, we got, I think it was 3,000 different investors. Or no, it was close to 5,000 different investors that got us 3 million. It was closer to 5,000. In the end, we lost around 1,000 when you close it down, and in the end, a lot of people back out. But it was around 4. I think in total we got 4,000 different investors, and more than 20% of them would ask you a question at some point, even maybe through social media, or maybe through the forum that Crowdcube offers, or maybe through our own forum. So, I mean, you can imagine hundreds of questions, a lot of people, asking for details that maybe you don't fully know what they mean, very technical terms. So it was 2 weeks where basically my whole team was dedicated to answering this. And in many cases, it was mostly answered by me, because a lot of the questions were very technical, right? Well, very investment-wise, and our social media manager at the time didn't have that knowledge. So I had to step in and I start answering, right? And I've always thought also that the quicker you answer a question, the better conversion you get later. So I tried to answer them as quickly as I could. So yes, you would see me answering questions in the forum, at 2 a.m., 3 a.m. It didn't matter, because a lot of people actually weren't from Spain, right? We got, I think it was, I said before that 10 people outside of Spain put 500,000, but in total from the outside, more or less it was half of the money that we raised. From our own users, it was like 1.5 million, and then from outside of Spain, it was another 1.5 million or so, a bit less, I believe. And those people were maybe in Poland, were in England, were in the US, were in many places. So the timetables didn't add up sometimes. Okay, I see here a couple of other questions. On how to position well on a crowdfunding platform. I think I've already explained it more or less. I mean, when you launch in a crowdfunding platform, you will be the only one launching if it's big enough, and you could try to negotiate with them to be the only one to promote that day. But I think usually they do it in that sense. But for example, in our case, we also shared space with a couple of other launches, not the same day, like maybe 3 days later they launch another one. But the reality is that you will position as well as you did your homework before. Like, there's little to do to position yourself better once you've launched the crowdfunding. What you need to do is prepare your user base. And if you don't have a user base, to have blogs that are from your audience, to know about the crowdfunding and to promote it. You will need to prepare like a marketing campaign to promote the crowdfunding. You shouldn't rely on the platform to bring you users, even though they will. You should rely on how you will bring your own users to the platform to invest. And that's what will give you the initial traction. Then the platform will give the trust to get that traction, and then it will bring the other investors from the platform to fill out the rest. Right? Okay, another question. What do you think has been the click to reach that many users? Is it the community you built around BNext? I mean, I'm guessing that you mean from the crowdfunding perspective. Certainly the community helped. Also, the fact that at the time we had 300,000 users. So not all of them are in the community, but many of them were. But these 300,000 users, our NPS at the time was, I think it was 65, 67. So we had a very good NPS. We had a very good traction with our users. And that certainly helps a lot when you're doing this thing, right? Because most people didn't invest that much. I mean, would invest 50, 100 euros. Now, but if you get 1,000 people doing that, then you get a lot of money to raise, right? That's the beauty of crowdfunding. But it's certainly, the community has been really, really important for many parts of what we've done in BNext, in order to develop the products, in order to support us when we've had problems, in order to debug and to see into the future, right, of what BNext was going to be, and also for the crowdfunding round, it's certainly been very, very helpful. Here, another question: at what stage of your business would crowdfunding make sense? To be honest, at any point. Like when we did our first crowdfunding of 300,000 euros, we had no clients and no product, and we managed to raise it quite quickly. Then the second time, we obviously had a lot of users. In the end, as I said before, doing a crowdfunding round doesn't mean that you prepare the funding round and then you open it and wait and see, right? You need to create a marketing campaign beforehand. You will need to, engage people through social media before you open the crowdfunding round so that they know that you are crowdfunding and why you stand for and why they should invest. You need to, or you will need to do a campaign with your own users to telling them this, or you will need to do a branded campaign in order for people to know that what you are going to do. It will depend the type of marketing that you will do. That will depend on the stage that you are, but it will be always the same. If you want to do a crowdfunding, you will need to do a marketing campaign beforehand. There's no way it will work if you just launch it and see what happens. I've never seen that happen. Maybe a couple of weird examples, but you need an initial traction. For example, in the case of the first crowdfunding round that we did, there was like this investor that we already knew and that put the first 50,000 euros, right? That was the only investor that we had. But when suddenly the platform saw that you launched something and immediately you got 50,000 euros, that gives it a lot of trust. But obviously that's work that you had to do beforehand, right? And then in those 20 hours it took in the first crowdfunding round, we also got, like, for example, a call from a very known angel investor who put 30,000 euros with just a phone call. And that actually, again, drove it really fast. And that brought more confidence and more trust to the campaign, and that made sure that people that were in Crowdcube at the time invested in the project, right? But you always will need that first traction that you will need to bring on your own. Any other questions? Doesn't seem we have any more questions, Sergio.
Give me a second. Yeah. I would like to ask from the beginning, as you know so much about growth, how did you start creating this community? Because as I see here some questions regarding about if it's a community of the people and part of the community of BNext and part of this forum that you're talking to, and I see this kind of forums so active, like so many clients that are really active clients, like asking about feedback, asking about functionalities, asking depth through Twitter, and this is something that you normally don't see with a bank. So how do you manage to create this community, and how has this helped you during the growth of BNext?
Well, I mean, it was designed to be the center of BNext from the very beginning. When I joined the team in April 2017, the first thing I did was go and search for a good forum software that was for free. We chose Discourse, and that was the first thing we had in the domain. Actually, we had a website, that's true, but then I opened the community, right? The second thing I did was start going to Google Campus and invite people to coffee and ask them what they think a bank should be. And it didn't really matter. I mean, we got a lot of feedback from there, but the most important part of that feedback was to ask them to join the community and tell them. And we told them, like, we were very aspirational in this sense. We told them, hey, we need you to help us build something that is good and worthwhile, that changes banking forever. Why don't you join us and participate here? And we invite these people to the community, right? And then later on, so what I mean with this is that from the very beginning of BNext, we always had the community at the heart of everything that we did. And in every single point of time, we've put the community first in many senses, right? We always do the sneak peeks of new features there. We always, most of the complaints and the bugs and everything are solved through the community. We encourage all our users to join the community so that they can learn the news that we share and to participate in the conversation. So it's not how the community has helped us. It's a bit like the community is one with the whole global marketing strategy from the very beginning, right? And I think that's the main difference. Is you just use a community or a forum, just for bugs or reporting or just as an afterthought. It is very difficult to get people to engage with you. But from the very beginning, we decided to make this a core thing about us. And also we answered very quickly, we answered truthfully, and people can feel that, right? Now, bear in mind that obviously, like in the first 6 months, maybe we had 200 people in there, right? It was, out of those 200 people, 20 were very active, but it was 200 people. Well, didn't matter. I mean, that didn't mean that we didn't put enough effort, that we didn't put effort in there just because there were very little clients, because we knew that we were creating something for the future. And now our community has more than 15,000 users, for example, which is still quite a small number compared to the global users that we have, but it is very significant when we talk about the power users of BNext. Now, I think that Ria Baliwala is actually asking a lot of questions now. Can you please share some tips, marketing strategies you successfully used? You mean for growth in general or for crowdfunding?
Can you please share some tips? Yeah, I'm sure talking in general, not only in crowdfunding.
User. Okay, yes, because we had one before one. What do you think has been the click to reach that many users, the community you built around BNext? User perspective, well, I think I explained that, Oscar. Ria, can you please share some tips of marketing strategies that you successfully used? So do you think she's asking about the crowdfunding or about marketing in general?
I think she's talking about marketing in general.
Yeah, so, well, I mean, there's tons of things, right? What a growth team really focuses on is not on, it's less on the strategy and more on experimentation, right? And we tried many different things to do in order to grow. Now, what we would usually do is do a lot of things, test, and then when we found one way of growing, we would double down on that and create a team to actually deal with it. For example, one of the main ones was in 2018, using a promotion where we would give 10 euros to every person who activated their card. Now, this was actually quite criticized. We even had like this article from Sataka, right, that said like, yeah, BNext is growing, but only because they are giving money to their users, which basically means that they have no idea about what marketing is. But it was really interesting, the conversation with them, when I asked them, why are you writing this when you haven't even asked us? Because basically, what we found when we started BNext was a market that was completely off key with everything that mattered, right? We went to the normal affiliate networks out there, like Rankia, Rastreator, etc., and they told us, your competitors are paying us 50 euros per account, and they don't. And actually, this is just opening the account. They don't even put any money or activate any card, so it's 50 euros or nothing. And that's when I realized that affiliation was going to be impossible through these partners. So I decided to create our own affiliate network. I would start approaching different blogs, and I told them, hey, I have 15 euros to give you. That's the maximum amount of that I have. And actually, if you want me to pay that money, you will need to get a client to do the KYC, to put at least 25 euros in their bank account, and then activate the card when they arrive, right? So it was quite a long funnel. So, I mean, this would have cost us in other affiliate networks like 150 euros, and we're offering 10% of that, 15 euros. But what I told the affiliates was actually, instead of giving you 15 euros, what do you say if we give 10 euros to the user and 5 euros to you? And bear in mind that, for example, the first affiliate that we used this, they were doing at the time for like 20 accounts per month for N26 and Revolut. And in that same month, they got us like around 400 new activations. So it was completely like off the charts. Like we certainly saw that we had found a way to reach the customer and to solve the trust issue that usually customers have with this type of product, right? Because we had no branding at the time and nothing else. So, but this was basically testing. This was not like a strategy that we planned and we said like, this is how we are going to do this. This was, we want to reach here. We are going to do all of these things to test, to see what works. And we found one that worked. And that was actually the one that got us to the first 100,000 clients for a fraction of the cost that our competitors were having it. So we grew faster, we grew cheaper, and we actually grew with more quality because what we did was we only paid when you activated the card. For that, the user needed to put at least 25 euros in their account. And the moment that they had to put money in it, they would have to do something to spend it. And that's when they would experience the value of BNext and exactly feel what we were giving them, right? And that actually made it that they stick with us quite quickly, way higher. That the opportunity for them to stick with us was way higher than in any other competitor. Actually, even till now, we have one of the lowest acquisition costs in Europe, and we have one of the highest engagement rates across all neobanking in Europe. And I think, I mean, I can explain hundreds of tips and marketing strategies, but I think this one is like one very, very powerful. And if you want more, we can go more, but let me run through the rest of the questions, okay? So again, a question from Ria. How long should a marketing campaign before the crowdfunding run? Around 2 weeks. Don't do more than that. Don't do less than that. Usually, if you do more, people will get tired. You know, they won't engage once you actually open the crowdfunding round. If you do less, you would basically be losing on some of the customers that don't fully understand what a crowdfunding is. You need to do, in many cases, a lot of knowledge transfer, right? You need to explain what a crowdfunding is, who you are, what your valuation is going to be, how will it work, etc. And I think that 2 weeks is the optimum time. That's what actually Crowdcube recommends. Now, if the campaign is directed to only angels and VCs, that's very different, right? That's more of a sales perspective. So, I mean, if it's the difference between B2B and B2C, right? A crowdfunding campaign is doing an investment round to B2C, and a normal angels or VCs is a sales campaign to B2C, to B2B. That's how I see it, at least. I mean, you need to do PR, you need to do a lot of outreach, you need to make sure that every single person you contact gives you another contact. And that's something that Guillermo, for example, is really, really good. Like, okay, you're not interested? Well, that doesn't matter. Can you give me the names of 3 other investor friends that you think could be interested? And can you intro them to me? And 90% of the investors will be willing to give you contacts, unless you've bunked the meeting, right? But usually most people are like, seems good, maybe not for me. Well, give me the names of 3 other people, right? Then Alvaro Iglesias, did you generate leads in the website prompting users to invest in your crowdfunding campaigns? Yes, we did. We basically would ask them to join like this wait list, and we would get their phone numbers, actually, because that's the ID from BNext, the main ID, phone number and email if you were a BNext user, and we would use this to create this life cycle, this drip campaign where we send an email every 4 days, I think it was. The first one specifically, because when you had no users and no products. Okay, so you're
she was talking about crowdfunding, like how to generate like these how do you manage to have these equity crowdfunding campaigns before having users?
Yeah, well, that's what I explained about the first one, right? There was a bit of a VC, well, an angel basically that would put the first 50,000 euros. And then we did also a campaign in social media, and we asked all our friends to share it so that we were able to reach as much as possible. Then we also got, a bit of branded content that actually at the time it was for free. We didn't pay anything for it because we had no money. And we try to be very, very, very lean. But we asked El Referente, we asked some favors from other friends, etc., so that we got published in a couple of places. And then we also did, we went to forums and told them that we were crowdfunding for this, etc. But I think that the main thing that worked in the first round was getting that first 50,000 euros very quickly. And that brought us maybe another 25,000 euros very quickly from Crowdcube investors. And then that phone call that we had with this angel that decided to put another 30,000 really made the tipping point, and suddenly it filled out really quickly. So again, it is very important to that job before, right? Nothing guarantees that you will raise it. Nothing guarantees that you will raise it fast. But anything that you do beforehand will help you immensely.
Okay, we have no more questions, but I wanted to ask you a question. You said that majority part of the investors the investment that you have comes from other countries, not from Spain. How do you manage to reach those investors? Like, really like this.
You get on a plane.
Sorry.
You get on a plane. I mean, now it probably will be different, I guess, right? Actually, it should be easier now to contact a lot of these people through online, but it is really, really important to break your own barriers, right? I'm amazed about all the mental barriers that most people have about their own product, about their investment, about their users. Most of the things that you think limit you are not true, like, period. I mean, if you think you can fly, well, probably you are right. But, maybe not. Maybe you can get one of these, wingsuits or whatever, and you can actually fly. It just depends on how you frame the problem, right? Certainly, raising money from the outside it should be more difficult than raising it from Spanish investors, but Spanish investors are still quite unprofessional. There is still not that many investors compared to other countries. So actually, you have a lot more success options if you go to other countries and try to raise money. And I don't know. I mean, for example, one of the main angel investors that we had, he's a Swiss guy who has a Spanish wife. That's how we entered. There's a lot of people out there that have Spanish wives or Spanish husbands that have a lot of money, and that's their tie to Spain, right? You don't need that much to get that connection. It's just doing a lot of work that doesn't scale. Just calling a lot of people, making sure that you reach. I mean, you want to raise money, reach 20 investors a day. You will raise money for sure. Unless you have crappy products, you will do it. But you have to be consistent. This is like looking for a job, right? Nobody says, I'm not. Well, the people who say, no, I live in Granada and I only want a job in investment banking in Granada. Well, maybe you will never have a job, right? But if you look into other sectors or you look into moving to another city, then your opportunities to get a job are a lot bigger, right? And it's the same with investment. Just contact 20 investors every day, pitch 5 investors a week, and I can guarantee that you will end up raising money.
That's it. Thank you very much, Alfonso. I think it's very important to all the teams also to hear your story and your experience raising money with Next. It's very interesting to know. If you have any other questions to Alfonso, just also send to us, and we will reach Alfonso. That's it. Thank you very much, Alfonso. We have the pitch and feedback sessions with the teams now. I will prepare this pitch so they can do it like 5 times a week. while raising money. And that's it. Thank you very much.
If you can do 10, it's better than doing 5. But
Yeah,
it needs a consistency and a very to be very resilient. 99 will say no until one says yes.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Alfonso. It was really a pleasure to have you to be here with you today. Really, thank you very much. We know it was really a busy day for you, so really we really appreciate your time.
Well, at least it's not tomorrow, right? If it had been tomorrow, I don't even know how I would have done it. But yes, thank you very much, guys.
Thank you very much. Okay, see you, Alfonso.
Bye.
Okay, so we will go now to the pitch and feedback rooms. You already have the pitch and feedback rooms at Sync Teams, so see you there. If you don't know which pitch and feedback rooms you have, you can go to the Google site and check it there. See you on the demo day, the 3rd of December. You can go to our Eventbrite page and download the tickets, or of course, for free. See you.